Hi, I'm Amina Wasuma, and I'm here to talk about my novel, Amberstone Agent Zero, episode 14. Now, we left off at For the Love of Blood, episode 13. So we're going to shoot ahead 5 years. And Amber is now an undercover DEA agent, full-fledged Agent Zero, undercover, working for Banderos. She's his lieutenant. So they're in the warehouse, and Hector is torturing Muhammed Akbar, who's a courier for Thai, Terrorists Incorporated extortionists. Now, someone has been skimming money off of Banderos' shipments of guns and drugs to Morocco, and he supports this terrorist group of females. So he's kidnapped Muhammed Akbar because he is a courier, and he runs errands for the terrorist group. So he assumes that he would know who was stealing the funds. And so he says, I don't know, could be any of the women, you know. So Amber is there in the warehouse, and Hector has, you know, a nail and hammer and scalpel and saws. He's going to cut him up if he doesn't talk. So Muhammad is like, I don't know anything, you know. I'm just a courier. He said, well, talk. We know you know something. He said, well, it could have been any one of the women that, you know, that has been stealing your money. I don't know which one it is. He said, but I'll tell you what. I'll sell their story for my life because I'm a writer. I mean, I am a courier for them, but I am a writer also, and I'm writing a novel, you know, their manifesto. Their memoirs, you can call it that too. And so Hector says, well, I don't want that. I want to know who's been stealing money. He said, well, I don't know. He said, but this is going to be really important on the black market. You could sell it for a lot of money. You know, it's going to be valuable because I know all their secrets, but I don't know who's skimming money from you or your boss. And so he tells Amber, leave, I want to talk to him alone. And Amber's like, no, I'm Banderos' lieutenant, you know, I will report the information to him, you know, not you. And so Hector says, okay, you want to stay, you stay. I don't work for you. I work for Banderos. And there's nobody bigger than him. And so Muhammad Akbar says, well, yeah, Thai is. They're the most powerful women in the world. And bigger than your Banderos. And so he says, well, he said, I'll tell you, you know, I'll tell you about them. And he says, well, if the story is worthwhile, I may think about saving your life. No, I just may change my mind. But I got to see what it's worth. So Muhammad Akbar begins to tell the story of how all the women, well, the main characters in the organization got together because their lives were on the same timeline. Now he starts in Lebanon. Imani and Halima are 13 and 14, and a war is going on between the Sunni and the Shiite Muslims. And she lives with her father, Habib Azim, and her mother, Adara, and her sister, Halima. And why I'm saying this now is because later on, you'll see why I'm telling you this now. It all unfolds. And they're quarantined. There's snipers and everything on the street. And they can't go out and play. And Halima works at the garage. Her father has a garage. He sells cars. Well, you know, Beirut used to be a jet set for all the Westerners at one point. And he would fix luxurious cars like Rolls Royces, Bentleys, Jaguars, Aston Martins, you name it. All the wealthy jet setters would come to Beirut to party. And this was before the war. So now everything is shut down. A lot of the men have been killed. A lot of people have exited, you know, went to other places. And so they're stuck. And he wants to take his family to Iraq. But, you know, he's just biding his time. So they want to go to the beach. They haven't been to the beach in, oh God, they've been in the house like a week. So they go to the beach, and they're ducking and dodging snipers. And they have to do this ceremony because their religion is an ancient religion. It's not Islam. It's Allah. She was before Islam. She was a goddess that ruled from the 1st to the 7th century, and he wants to resurrect her, you know. But it's against the law to worship any of the gods, you know, in that territory. So they're at the beach, and it's, you know, it's getting dark, and it's a full moon, and he does the ritual, you know, builds a bonfire, does the ritual, and they pray to Allah. When they finish praying, he puts out the fire, and they're getting ready to go back home when a soldier approaches them and wants to see his papers. And his papers are expired because he hasn't been to the administration office to get his passport renewed. And the guard says, well, the soldier says, well, I'm going to take you in. And he says, well, I can't go in. You know, I want to go home. And they get into a struggle, and the rifle that the guard has, him and Habib are struggling for the rifle, and the rifle goes off and kills the soldier. Now, the family is in trouble. They are going to be executed for sure, no questions asked. So he wipes the rifle off and leaves the body there. They get in the car and they go back home, and they're scared to death. And they finally get into their apartment, and they lock the door. He has like 5 locks on the door. Yeah. And so they say, well, maybe nobody knows it was us. Let's hope not. Just act, you know, act scared, act non-scared. Just act normal, you know. So the next day, they're going to the market because they have to go to the market at certain times to get fresh food, you know, and stock up on supplies because they can't, you know, they're quarantined. So the family goes to the market the next day, scared to death. You know, Habib is scared to death that they'll find out that he killed the soldier. Anyway, Imani stops and looks at an orange, and her mother walks ahead, and a car bomb goes off. Well, it was aimed at a Muslim cleric down the street, but it went off and it killed Adara. And it, you know, injured about 100 people. And some men had a sheet and they wrote in blood, made in the NOO, meaning the New World Order. And so Imani and Halima rushed to the hospital along with several other people. It's jam-packed, the emergency room. Habib comes to pick them up. He found out because he had went to the shop while he dropped them off to shop in the market. So he comes rushing into the hospital, you know, where's my family, where's my family? And they said, well, your two daughters are okay. You know, they're kind of like shell-shocked, but they're all right. And he's like, well, where's my wife, Adara? I said, well, she didn't make it. And he started yelling and screaming and said, calm down, you know. I demand to see her body. I demand to see her. I said, well, she's under the rubble. You know, we couldn't dig it up. And he was like, somebody's going to pay for this. Somebody's going to atone for her being killed. And so the doctor gives him some sedatives and cleans Imani and Halima up, and he takes them home. And he's so angry, you know, but he's like a revengeful anger. Somebody's going to pay for this. Somebody's going to pay for this. And he blames the West. And he tells Adara and Imani that they are going to go to Iraq. Rashid Farouk is the leader. And that was his friend, and he's going to go to Iraq. And they are going to kill the New World Order soldiers. So Imani's like, I don't know how to kill anybody, you know. Halima was like, well, I don't either. And Habib says, well, you're going to learn how to kill. You're going to learn how to, you know, survive. Because we have to get revenge for Adara's death. So the next day they pack up everything. Not everything, but what they could take. They have very little. And they leave the apartment and they get in their car and they drive towards the airport. And they're stopped by a soldier. And he says, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to Iraq. My friend is Rashid Farouk, sorry. So the soldier laughs and, yeah, the mad, you know, ruler. I love him. You can go ahead. If you're going to see him, you can go ahead by. So they let them go by, and they get on the plane, and in 4 hours they're in Iraq, and there's a chauffeur waiting and takes them to the palace. Well, Habib is shown his room, and then the girls are taken to a harem, and they get a chance to bathe, and oh my God, it's beautiful. It's all these harem girls and ladies covered, and they get into the pool, and It's scented with vanilla and cinnamon, and they'd never seen such luxury before, you know. And finally, they get ready for bed. So Halima is asleep in her bed, and Imani is like right next to her. It's like a twin bed, and it's like curtains, you know, covering the bed to keep the mosquitoes out. And so Imani looks, and she sees a man having sex with one of the harem girls. She can't make out actually who it is because she just sees the shadow, you know. And so she turns over and pretends, you know, he finishes doing what he's doing, and she turns over and pretends like she didn't see it. And next, she's being held down by two grotesque bodyguards. And she's being injected with a hypodermic needle in her neck, and it numbs her. And it's Rashid. And he rapes her. And then when he finishes raping her, he rapes Halima. And then he tells both of the girls, if you tell your father, I will kill him. And they are just shamed. And he leaves the harem. And the next day they wake, you know, they're paralyzed. When they wake up the next day, they get up early and they make a solemn promise not to tell a bit. And so they're waiting for breakfast. They're dressed and they're waiting in the lounge for breakfast. And Habib comes, their father. We have to go. The Americans, which the NOO is ruling America. And so Habib comes and says, the Americans are coming. They raided the town. Rashid has fled to his bunker. Let's leave. We have a place in the desert. So they leave. Now, are they going to get to their place safely? Or not? So tune in for episode 15, The Daughters of Alat.